Hello and welcome to another episode of Spotlight. Today it will not be the IPL, today it will not be cricket, but we are going to talk a little bit about tennis. We are going to talk a little bit about the greatest of all time in tennis. Last week when we were frenetically covering the World Test Championship final, when the entire country was watching the World Test Championship final, hoping against hope that India chases down 280 runs on the final day, which eventually didn't happen, there was another final that was being played out in same European continent. The French Open final. Novak Djokovic, the guy from Serbia, took on Casper Ruud from Norway, and Novak won the final in 3 sets to win the French Open for the third time. What is so special about Novak Djokovic's French Open win? Because it is so special because he won the French Open for the third time, becoming the first player ever to win all 4 Grand Slams at least thrice in men's tennis, and he became the first men's singles player to win 23 Grand Slam titles. You know who he went past? You guys must all know that he went past Rafael Nadal, who completed 22 at last year's French Open. From then on, Nadal hasn't had the success that he would have hoped for. At the start of the year, he got injured at the Australian Open and he couldn't play the French Open for the first time since winning it in 2005. When Rafael Nadal was withdrew due to an injury, that moment Novak Djokovic had it written in his stars. In fact, he said it like it was destiny that we won the French Open. But there was a challenger, Carlos Alcaraz, the number one, the flag bearer of next generation. A lot of people were, a lot of Djokovic fans on Twitter, I checked a lot of Twitter feed, they were a little worried they were a little disappointed that someone who has never played a French Open semi-final, the world number one of course, Carlos Alcaraz, who won the US Open last year, he was being tipped as the favourite for that semi-final clash. First of all, the draw itself pitched both Djokovic, the third seed, and Alcaraz, the first seed, for a semi-final battle. And when that was bound to happen, a couple of days ahead of the semi-final, people were calling Alcaraz as the favourite. I don't doubt them because I don't say they were wrong, because the way Alcaraz defeated Stefanos Tsitsipas, one of the finest clay courters, Tsitsipas is number 5. The way Alcaraz beat Tsitsipas in just 3 sets, he just rolled over him and made a statement before the big semi-final. And on that semi-final day, Novak Djokovic came out all guns firing. It was different to see him. He had struggled against Karin Khachanov in the quarterfinal. He in fact lost the first set and had to come back. But on that big day, against a player who the entire world is looking at, against a player who the entire world is believing will take over men's singles tennis, he just came out all guns firing and then dismantled him and reached the final. From then on, it was a cakewalk. Casper Ruud, he was a good challenger. He played the last year's Roland Garros final as well, but he was not able to trouble Djokovic, who seemed very determined to win that French Open title, to go to that number 23. Now questions are being asked whether Djokovic is the greatest men's singles player of all time. Well, here many people might have different opinions. For instance, Roger Federer, one of the finest the sport has ever seen, not just tennis, one of the finest the sporting world has seen, finished with 20 Grand Slam titles. Rafael Nadal has not yet finished. He has promised that he will come back next year and maybe have another season. He has had injury issues, he has had hip injury issues, but he has confirmed that he will come back next season and play Grand Slams. He just still wants to put him in Grand Slam winning positions. He has 22 titles and Novak Djokovic has overtaken them both with 23 titles. At the end of the 2010 season, I saw a very mind-boggling stat. At the end of the 2010 season, Roger Federer had 16 titles, 2 more than the great Pete Sampras, who finished with 14. At that point, 14 Grand Slams, people thought it was not emulatable at all. But Roger Federer achieved it in the first 6-7 years of his career, taking it to 16. At the end of the 2010 season is what I'm talking about. Roger Federer had 16, Rafael Nadal had 9, out of which 5 came at the French Open, and Novak Djokovic had 1. Djokovic had won his first Grand Slam title at the 2008 Australian Open, and then it took him nearly 3 years to win his second. But from there on, Djokovic has sped like a rocket, and he has gone to the number 1 position. Whether you ask, is he the greatest, and that question was put to him after he won the French Open, whether you're the greatest, but he said, calling myself the greatest would be disrespectful to other legends who have played in different era, where the tennis as a sport has changed so much in the last few years. He said it would be disrespectful. Well, if you put it down to numbers, then you can't argue against Djokovic, right? 23 Grand Slam titles and a better head-to-head record against both Djokovic and both Federer and Nadal, something that many other players are only dreaming of, right? He has better numbers, But when you consider the impact that a player brings to the sport, then maybe it's arguable, right? Whether Novak is the number one player, whether he's the greatest player. But you can't discount that these three have pushed each other to the limits. Because of the other two, each of them have pushed their game to the next level. And Djokovic said that beautifully after the French Open final, that these two have inspired me so much, and he has spent countless hours thinking how to beat the other two. That's the greatness of this era, right? We are blessed to be living in this golden era of tennis, golden era of tennis, golden era of football, golden era of cricket. But this golden era in tennis, 20, 22, 20, 23, 65 Grand Slam titles between them. We are blessed to see such an era. And we'll leave the debate of who's the greatest of all time in tennis to you guys. For now, this is Akshay Ramesh signing off, and we'll bring you a lot of sporting updates in the next few action-packed tweets from the world of cricket, tennis and football in this episode of Spotlight. Thank you.